"I thought you'd finally get the message." That's what she said, wearing my robe, holding a wine glass with her friend drying off by the pool. I didn't answer, just looked at the divorce papers on the counter. My name was spelled wrong on page 3, not a typo. A statement. My name is Grant Ellison, 46. Former Master Sergeant, U.S. Army Special Operations. 12 deployments, 3 commendations, 0 warnings. I've built shelters in monsoons, cleared kill zones with no radio. But that house by the beach? That was the one place I thought was mine. It wasn't. I'd left at dawn. No warning text, no call, just a gut feeling. Stopped for gas halfway. Bought flowers. The clerk asked if it was for an apology or a surprise. I said, neither. He still gave me a discount. Somewhere along Highway 12, I practiced what I might say, but the words never came out. We used to celebrate every anniversary there. One year she baked a pie that collapsed in the middle. We ate it anyway. She laughed like it mattered. It doesn't anymore. The front gate was ajar when I got there. She always forgot to lock it. I parked by the cedar tree we planted the year we got engaged. It looked sick, branches dry, leaves brittle. The sun was already baking the gravel. Even the lizards hid in the shade. I stood still before going in. Listened. No laughter, no footsteps. Just the low hum of pool jets. I didn't knock, didn't call, just opened the side door and stepped in. The place smelled like cheap incense and sea salt. Her purse was on the floor, his shoes too close to mine. A phone charging on the counter, not mine. They didn't hear me. She was on the patio couch, his arm around her, both in swimwear that didn't belong to either of them. And then she said it. I thought you'd finally get the message. Like I was a junk email she could just unsubscribe from. I didn't flinch. Didn't argue. Just walked to the kitchen, placed the flowers on the counter next to the papers, and opened the drawer by the sink. The envelope was still there. Addressed to me. From her father. Sealed. Yellowing at the edges. The kind of envelope someone leaves behind when they still believe in you. She saw it in my hand and smirked. He wanted you to have that, didn't he? Cute. I didn't respond, just nodded once. She sipped. He stood, tall, maybe 30, vain, towel over one shoulder, sunglasses still on. He looked like a catalog model pretending to relax. That's when he saw me, or more precisely the back of my head, and that's when his expression changed. His lips parted like he meant to say something, but no sound came. One step back, then another. The towel dropped. His arms stiffened like he'd just seen a ghost. I turned slowly, just enough to catch his face, pale, twitchy, frozen. Same look I saw on a cartel gunman who thought we were dead before the breach. I picked up the envelope, looked at her once. I'll let you enjoy your evening. I walked out the same way I came in, closed the gate behind me. This time I latched it. The wind shifted as I reached the truck. The flowers were already wilting in the heat. I placed them gently in the passenger seat anyway. Sat for a moment. Didn't cry, didn't rage. Just let the engine run. A door slammed inside. Someone yelled something I didn't catch. In the rear view, I saw him peeking out, no longer confident, no longer smiling. He pulled his sunglasses off like they might help him see clearer. They didn't. She had no idea what he'd seen. But I did. Because he wasn't the first man to recognize that mark. And he wouldn't be the last. The truth is, I was already disappearing long before that day at the beach house. My mornings were precise. Coffee at 0500, stretch, pull-ups, oats, 1 boiled egg, no salt. I didn't check emails, didn't post updates. My world was quiet, deliberate. I took odd jobs when I felt like it. Logistics for a marina, security consult for a friend's gym. Cash only. People liked that I didn't talk much. Said I brought a calm. I didn't feel calm. I felt invisible. But invisibility has its uses. I met Claire at a fundraiser her father hosted for military families. She wore a slate gray dress. Understated. Classic. No social media posing. She looked like she belonged in still photographs. She asked if I was military. I said, was. She said she liked that answer. The next day, she brought coffee to the marina. The next week, she brought a second cup, black, no sugar. Said she'd guessed. She was right. I didn't chase her. But I didn't stop her either. Her father, Gerald, was an old-school officer turned construction magnate. He used to nod at me instead of saying hello, the kind of nod that holds weight. One evening after a storm, we stood on the deck of the beach house, watching the surf eat the sandbags. He handed me a sealed envelope and said, "If things ever get complicated, this is yours. Don't open it unless you have to." He didn't explain. I didn't ask. But I never forgot. Claire loved how quiet I was, at first. She'd talk and fill the space, then lean into my silence like it was some kind of luxury. She used to say, "You don't react. It's like living next to granite. Solid. Safe." But solid turned to cold somewhere along the way. It started small. She'd roll her eyes when I double-locked the doors at night, called it paranoia. Then she started traveling, weekend retreats, writing workshops, trips with old friends. She never invited me. I never asked. One night she laughed at dinner and said, "I married a ghost." I nodded. She mistook that for agreement. There was a dog, Samson, rescue mutt. One ear bent, the other upright like he was always half listening. We found him limping near the marina. I wrapped his paw, and he never left my side again. Claire tolerated him. I think she preferred animals that didn't shed. One Friday, she packed for a wellness weekend and left without saying bye to him. He stared at the door for hours. I made him scrambled eggs. He didn't eat. She came back smelling like someone else's cologne. Said I was imagining things. I didn't argue. Another time, she joked in front of her friends. "He still has that tattoo. Won't say what it means. I think it's his real marriage." They laughed. I didn't. That night I caught her on the phone, locked in the bathroom. Not whispering, laughing. No, he doesn't even ask anymore. It's like living with a shadow. The word hit harder than I expected. Shadow. I'd been called many things in the field, phantom, ghost, whisper, but never shadow. Shadows just follow and fade. I stood by the door listening, not breathing. She flushed, stepped out, startled, then smiled like nothing had happened. I nodded once and walked past her, into the garage, opened the lockbox on the shelf. There it was, the envelope. Still sealed, still yellowed, still waiting. I didn't open it. Not yet. Claire started sleeping in the guest room, said I snored too loud. I didn't argue. Samson followed me there. He curled up at the foot of the bed like he understood. The house had the same furniture, the same art, the same paint, but it felt like a museum someone had already died in. Claire stopped answering calls in front of me. Her phone lived in her back pocket, screen always down. She laughed more on the porch than inside, more when she was looking out than in. One morning I went to make coffee. My card declined, same card I used every week for 5 years. I checked the account, new password, locked out. The next day, I called Gerald. No answer, tried again. Same result. On the third call, his assistant picked up. "Mr. Danner is unavailable. He's dealing with some health matters." Her voice was rehearsed, sterile. Gerald didn't get sick, not without calling. That Friday, I drove to the community center. I'd volunteered to help build a new pier for the kids' sailing program. The site was empty. No tools, no workers. The guy who ran the place shrugged. Said funding got pulled. "I thought Claire told you." She hadn't. She told me we were taking time to figure things out, but everything she touched was already dissolving. At a local veterans lunch, an old friend, Marcus, pulled me aside. "Didn't know you two were on a break. Claire mentioned rehab." I blinked. "Rehab." He nodded, uncomfortable. "Hey man, if you need anything." I thanked him and left. Drove straight home. Didn't say a word when I walked in. Claire was on a call. She lowered her voice when she saw me, turned away, closed the laptop. The silence between us wasn't thick. It was hollow, like a wall with nothing behind it. That night Samson didn't bark, didn't greet me. I searched the house. His leash was gone. His bowl was washed. There was a receipt on the counter. Pet move, long-distance animal transport. She walked in, still holding her phone. He needed space, that's all. I didn't answer. Just went to the guest room, sat on the bed, closed the door. The next week, I noticed a shirt in the laundry that wasn't mine. Black button-down, size medium, expensive. I laid it flat on the table and folded it. Left it there. No one asked. One night, headlights cut across the window. A sleek black car, not hers, not Gerald's. Claire stepped out, heels clicking on the concrete. She didn't see me standing in the shadows near the tree line. She kissed someone before she walked inside. I didn't follow, didn't confront. I made tea. I wasn't collecting proof. I was collecting patterns. And the last pattern began with a shirtless man in my robe holding a drink on my patio. Wade. He looked like he'd read just enough Hemingway to misquote it at parties. The kind of guy who says alpha, unironically, but leaves his laundry in the washer for days. Back at the beach house when I stepped through the sliding glass doors and saw them, Claire laughing, Wade lounging, I didn't raise my voice. She smirked. I thought you'd finally get the message. I looked at her, then at him. Then I turned. Enjoy your evening. It was when I passed him, when my back was to him, that it happened. Wade's drink rattled against the glass. His knuckles turned white. I didn't turn around. But I felt the tremor. Same kind I'd seen once in Fallujah. A rookie EOD tech who spotted a tripwire too late. Same freeze. Same realization. Only this time there were no bombs. Just memory. His. He'd seen that mark before. And he remembered what followed. I didn't go home. Didn't check into a hotel either. I took the truck and drove south until the gaslight blinked. Pulled off near a place I hadn't seen in years. My father-in-law's old hunting cabin. Technically still in Claire's family. But the deed had my name on it too. I parked behind the overgrown brush, broke the padlock. Inside it smelled like dust, diesel, and pine. No one had touched it in a decade. Perfect. On the second night, I opened the black case beneath the floorboards. Inside were notebooks, a .45 I never fired, and an envelope with names I hadn't thought about since Kandahar. I made a list, didn't write it, didn't say it, just built it in my head, one by one. The first move was procedural. I accessed a clause in the trust that held the beach house, something Claire's mom had insisted on years ago. With a single notarized form, I reinstated joint control over the security and surveillance systems, without needing her signature. I didn't change the locks, just redirected the cloud backup. 2 nights later, she messaged me. Don't play games, Grant. Just tell me what you want. I didn't reply. The next morning, a letter showed up taped to my apartment door, from her father's firm. The envelope wasn't sealed properly, probably on purpose. We're requesting formal mediation to address abandonment of marital obligations. Our client also expresses concern for your mental stability and emotional well-being. Cute. She always knew how to turn a scalpel without drawing blood. That week, Claire started telling people I'd struggled since leaving the service. PTSD, isolation. He just detached. I tried everything. Meanwhile, Wade posted a filtered shot of the two of them drinking white wine barefoot on the deck. Caption: New season. Clean slate. I showed up at the surf academy that Saturday. Didn't go in, just stood on the sidewalk across the street, arms crossed, sunglasses on. Wade spotted me midway through a demonstration, teaching some teenager how to paddle properly. I didn't move, didn't wave, didn't blink. When his eyes met mine, I nodded once. Not up, down, The kid asked something. Wade didn't answer right away. Eventually I heard him say, "Just a guy I used to know." Not well. On Tuesday, a package arrived at the beach house. No return address. Claire tore it open on the kitchen counter. A small envelope. Inside, a flash drive. She plugged it into her laptop, half laughing, half rolling her eyes. The screen flickered. Footage began to play. Grainy, black and white. Surveillance timestamps. Each clip was quiet, slow, steady. Wade in the pool, Claire with a wine bottle. Wade in my robe. Claire by the fire pit. The final shot? Samson. Running across the lawn, tennis ball in mouth. He was back. 3 nights later, Claire and Wade tried to enter the house through the gate. It didn't open. The screen at the gate blinked once, then shut off. Claire punched in the code again. Nothing. Wade smacked the metal post, then turned toward the security camera mounted in the corner. He stared at it for a second too long. Somewhere else, a different screen showed the same image. I watched from a quiet room 2 miles inland. Beside me sat Marcus, old friend, ex-squad, now a cybersecurity consultant. He leaned back and pointed at the reflection in the screen. My head, the faint curve of that mark at the base of my skull. He chuckled. "You didn't tell her what that mark means, did you?" I didn't look away. "She'll find out. Just not from me." They filed an emergency petition, claimed I was unstable, said I'd abandoned the marriage, tampered with property, maybe even stalked them. Claire's father's firm drafted the documents. Wade signed an affidavit about unprovoked surveillance and menacing behavior. They submitted screen grabs from the security system, cropped, of course. They thought they had me cornered. They didn't know the trust had teeth. 2 years before the wedding, Claire's mother insisted we place the beach house in a separate legal vehicle. Tax reasons, generational planning. Buried in that trust was a behavioral clause, moral conduct that ensured exclusive occupancy could be revoked if one party violated the terms. That clause had never been used, until now. My attorney, an estate litigator from Austin named Valerie, walked into Claire's father's firm the next morning. No security, no threats. Just her, a leather folder, and a 1-line memo. Mr. Walker formally invokes paragraph 17 of the primary property trust, effective immediately. They tried to argue, said it was outdated, said the footage wasn't enough. Valerie slid over an affidavit, signed, notarized, dated 2 months prior. Then she pulled out the second envelope. Photos, time-stamped, the robe, the wine, Wade holding my dog. They didn't say a word after that. Claire didn't reach out. She knew better. Instead, I got a call from her father that evening. Didn't answer. Then he texted, "It's been resolved. Let's leave it at that." I didn't celebrate. Didn't tell friends. Didn't post anything. Just returned to the cabin, fed Samson, sat on the porch and watched the sun set behind the tree line. The next morning, Valerie called again. The annulment was finalized. Property reallocated. Beach house mine. No payout owed. No contest. She asked if I wanted a formal statement released to clear the record. I said no. A week later, I transferred ownership of the house to a non-profit for combat veterans. Quietly. No headlines. No thank you plaque. I packed 2 bags, shut the cabin, and vanished. Left the keys on the table. No note. No goodbye. Claire wouldn't understand it right away. She'd wake up thinking she still had cards to play. Until the mail arrived. A manila envelope. No return address. Inside, a copy of the final court order. 1 line was circled. All rights and claims irrevocably waived. She crumpled it, furious. Then noticed the second item. A photo. Old, faded. Taken during a deployment. A group of soldiers lined up outside a hangar. One of them, center, back turned. The tattoo visible at the base of his skull. She stared at it for a long time. Wade entered the room. "What's that?" She didn't answer. Just showed him the photo. He squinted, then froze. "Where'd you get this?" "Why?" What unit is that? You tell me. Wade stepped back, sat down. He didn't speak again for almost 5 minutes. That night, Claire stayed up searching online. Different spellings, old articles, message boards. She finally found it. An archived report. 2 lines in a declassified summary. A joint task force. Disavowed operations. No names listed. Only a symbol. The same one tattooed behind my head. The same one Wade had seen that night. The one that made him stop smiling. 3 weeks later, I was working under a different name. No social media. No phone plan. Just a P.O. box in northern Utah and a small shop where I fixed marine engines. I didn't advertise. Didn't smile much either. But if someone's boat refused to start and their uncle mentioned the guy by the lake, they found me. The shop was clean, sparse, tools in their place. 1 cot in the back, a kettle, a shelf with 7 books, 4 about silence. Samson slept under the bench. He'd started barking again, but only at loud engines. Somehow that felt like progress. Every morning I'd walk the dock before starting work, coffee in hand, same route, same time. One morning, something floated toward shore, a bottle. Inside, a soggy envelope. My name in her handwriting. Claire. I didn't open it, just dried it by the workbench, let it sit 2 days. Then, one night I poured myself a cup of black coffee. No sugar, no noise. Opened the envelope. There wasn't much. A note. Apologetic, almost poetic. Blamed timing, pressure, confusion. Asked what the tattoo meant. Said she missed the version of me that used to talk more. Attached was a photo, us, years ago. Before everything. On the back, her number. I folded it. No anger. No hesitation. Dropped it in the fire drum outside the shop. Watched it curl and blacken. Then added the last object I'd held onto. A keychain she gave me. It didn't burn all the way, but it stopped shining. I didn't reply. Didn't tell anyone about it. The next morning, I returned to the dock. Same steps. Same pace. Samson walked with me. No leash. By mid-afternoon, I was under the hull of a client's boat, replacing a drive shaft when I heard someone approach. Boots. Military cadence. Slowed by gravel. I slid out from under the boat. An older man stood there. Crew cut. Faded shirt with a unit patch I recognized. He didn't introduce himself, just nodded once. Heard you were around, he said. Sometimes, I answered. He didn't stay long. Left a small box on the table. Inside, a coin. Challenge issue. Same symbol as the tattoo. He didn't need to say anything else. That night I cooked for the first time in months. Salmon, rice, real butter. Set 2 bowls, 1 for Samson. No music, no reflection. Just chewing, breathing, living. Later I sat by the water. Same bench, same coffee. Clouds moved slow. Breeze was clean. Samson rested his head on my boot. I looked at the lake, at nothing in particular, closed my eyes, breathed in deep. She needed a reaction. I gave her silence. The gentleman's revenge isn't loud, but it's always personal. If this felt personal, make it personal. Subscribe now, and don't miss tomorrow's story.